Bulkhead. This big Autobot bruiser has enough strength to bust up entire Predacon armies.
Welcome back to eBEFOREi Video Reviews. Rounding out my reviews of Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Deluxe Wave 2 figures, well, here's Bulkhead. Now, those of you that know me know that one of my favorite figures to come around in a very long time was the first edition Voyager-class Bulkhead. So when I first heard that they were introducing a deluxe-scaled version of Bulkhead, with Beast Hunter armor on top of that, well, I was skeptical to say the least. That being said, at least looking at him inside the package, well, he looks kinda neat. So I'll try to keep an open mind during this review and give this guy a fair shot. Let's take a quick look at the box. On the front, you've got the Beast Hunters logo and a nice animated picture of Predaking. Smaller box, like you've seen in the other reviews that I've done. Nice photoshopped image of Bulkhead right there, the Autobot symbol. He's intermediate level 2, ages 5+. On the back of the box, you see he comes with Spinning Dragon Grinder. That sounds awfully violent. Weapon attaches to vehicle and robot mode. A couple of pictures right there. The cast of Transformers Prime, the IDW barcode. On the bottom, they want you to buy Smokescreen, Ripclaw, and a Happy Meal toy. On the side of the box, his technical data. Strength is a 10. Nice. Intelligence a 5. Speed a 4. Endurance a 9. Woo! Rank is a 6, Courage is an 8, Fire Blast a 7, and Skill is a 5. He's Deluxe Class Series 2, figure number 7. Alright, so that's the quick box review. Let's open him up, compare him to some of the other Bulkheads that have come around recently, and see if this guy might be worth your purchase, or not. Here's Bulkhead out of the package, and I must say, I'm very impressed with this. I was actually not expecting this, but as is in his vehicle mode, he looks great. Let's take a closer look. Now his Dragon Grinder I have attached to the vehicle, and let's take that off and we'll get more into that in a few minutes. The detail on this guy is actually really good. So he's got the Beast Hunter swirled in paint right here, and again, every figure is going to be slightly different. I kind of wish mine had a little bit more, but as is, it looks pretty good. The front, again, there's excellent use of paint here. Really unexpected. You've got these two little almost like beast spikes. I don't know what you'd call that, but it's supposed to be sharp and it's going to spike you. And the thing about these is they're painted a real nice silver, as is this middle section right here. You have red on these side lights and yellow in here. I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of paint for a deluxe class figure that is coming across quite impressive. You also have the Beast Hunter swirled in paint right here in the green, which, you know, the funny thing is it almost looks like stress marks on this toy, but it's not. It's swirled in lighter paint. Kind of neat. Got a little bit of sloppy paint job here. It looks like it's, at least on my figure, it's the gold bit's kind of coming off. But it's okay, it's not terrible. You've got real nice gold paint here. The doors themselves are real nice, kind of metallic green, and I don't know if you can see that in this video, but that's a real nice touch. You've got painted yellow back here, which is interesting because the front section of yellow is actually the color of the plastic. The back section is colored to try and match the front. It's not a perfect match, but I'm not going to take away too many points for that. Looks pretty good as is. On the back, while the windows are not painted, you do have the two little kind of goldish looking things right here. And again, on the other side, you can see how the swirled in bits right there on each panel of plastic. It's going to be different. You've got very nice blue here on the windows, which is paint. On the front, you have a translucent blue, which is see-through. Again, not a perfect match, but good enough. The one thing you'll note right away is that you've got a lot of ports for weapons. You've got one right there on the roof, and you've got them on the side. And the one glaring bit of kibble on this figure that could be, you know, something that you might not like that much is the fact that his hands are exposed underneath. Now on camera, as I'm looking through my viewfinder, this looks terrible. But in person, you don't really see it that much because most of it is at an angle to where, you know, it's not really troublesome. So in a video-like review, I can't not point it out to you because it looks kind of crappy. But in hand, it's not that bad. The in-plastic molded detail, again, you've got these real in-plastic nice lines along the backside right here. He's got a gas tank on the side right there. and lots have kind of looked like Beast armor all around. So overall, very good. The tires, like just about every Transformer these days, are hard plastic, but the neat thing about it is they've got kind of that SUV, almost like monster truck tires. They're very, very jagged. So answering the question on whether or not this rolls, he actually rolls very well, but it's very bumpy. And that's cool. I actually like that a lot. Another detail they got really right here, you can see that he's got these kind of ridged pieces in the intakes, and if you look all the way in, the ridges continue. It's a nice touch. I don't know, again, how well you're going to see that, but it's a fairly seamless look when you're looking at it straight on. Something they didn't need to do, and happy that they did. Now, some people have pointed out as flaws that these wheels can turn in fairly easily, hence making them look, well, for lack of a better word, like a derpy truck. At least with my figure, it's not really easy to do that, and if they happen to, if you're handling it and they go in, well, just pop them back out. To me, that's not a deal breaker at all. Looking at the size of Bulkhead, he's actually a fairly decently sized figure. Putting him up next to the Voyager Optimus Prime, hopefully you can see that while Optimus Prime is taller and thicker, Bulkhead actually has a good bit of length to him. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the back, but stacking these guys up side by side, I mean, it's actually a fairly good scale. There they are on my back wall. And again, this is a Voyager-class figure, and this version of Optimus Prime is a huge, huge robot. So the fact that you've got a deluxe-size robot right here, who's actually fairly small in robot mode, in vehicle mode, he actually stacks up quite well. You can see he's quite a bit taller than Deluxe Wheeljack, and he's actually probably 2 Wheeljacks stacked on top of each other for just getting an overall comparison of the size. Again, a nice size figure here. Now, I took the Dragon Grinder off a minute ago, but just to show you that you can port this thing in on the top as we started this review, and you could put it there on the side if he wants to grind dragons while he's driving, because really, you're not supposed to text and drive, but I don't think there's any law against grinding dragons and driving. Speaking of derpy earlier, I just had one of those moments where I got about halfway through transforming him, and I wasn't recording. So we'll go back, Jack, and do it again. To get Bulkhead transformed, the first thing you want to do is you want to get your hands into these doors right here, and just sort of lift them up like that. Do the same thing on the other side. Open him up like a DeLorean, and he can fly. And you can also see his arms. From here, you want to come into the leg section and just start pulling these out, and you want to unfold these just like that. These are nice and stiff. How many of you just said that's what she said? Anyway, you want to come down here, take the legs, split them apart just like that, turn them around, and here are his feet. Now, you would think that you would take these feet and basically push them in so the toe comes up. And actually, it's the complete opposite here. You want to give the foot a push, and then the actual foot comes down. Does any of that make sense? Now, this is on a ball joint, so you actually can get a little bit of pivot here, and this actually helps him stand up quite well. Continuing on with transformation, you want to take these arms, and you want to untab them, just kind of open them up just like that. Rinse and repeat on the other side, and Bulkhead will give you a big hug. From here, you want to come down to this black piece right here, and you want to slide this down. It's on a sliding screw. So you want to just kind of slide that down. That'll give you enough clearance on the top to take this little underhang and move it up, and you can snap that into place, and that gives him an Autobot symbol, which is very nice. Then put your thumb right into this intake and lift that whole piece of plastic up, and what you will do is reveal a Bulkhead head. And basically, you've got a tab right in here and a slot right there, and you want to bring this down and marry them up, just like that. Give it a nice push, lock everything kind of into place. Now you want to take this part right here and move it all the way to the back, and it snaps, not a really hard snap, but it definitely does give you a kind of a satisfying little thud to let you know that it's in place. From here, you want to take these ball joints in the arms, you want to just move them down, and then you can pivot the rest of the arm like that. Do the same thing on the other side, bring it down, pivot, take the wheels, and just kind of curve them inward like that. You want to take this top section right here, and you want to slide these pieces out, and then arch them up a little bit just like that. Then you can take this whole piece, bring it down, and from this point, you're ready to stand him up, pose him up, And here we've got Bulkhead in his robot mode. Let me say straight off the bat, I really dig this figure. I love the way he looks. The only real issue for me, well, I've got a couple of issues. The main issue is that I don't think he's Bulkhead, if that makes any sense. So I will be more than happy to display this character on my shelf, but I think I'm going to give him a different name. We'll get more into that here in a few minutes. Let's look at the figure itself. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can transform Bulkhead into robot mode. This is the way that the instructions say to do it. To leave these wings on the back out in the open just like that. I don't personally like that, so what I do is I just take these and very simple enough, well, I just bring them down like that. That gives him kind of a bulky shell look about him, and he also kind of looks like something that one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would build. But anyway, oh, and I forgot to open these hands up as well, so we'll do that on both sides. It doesn't really open up a lot, but it keeps him from being too roly-poly in the arms, which is actually my real complaint with this figure, is the fact that he has the arm curling syndrome. I mean, there's no wrist articulation, and so he basically is going to constantly be flexing. I think he wants to join the WWE. Now, there are things that you can do to kind of make him look a little bit better. I mean, you could turn one of them in like that, and you don't have to make him look quite like a bodybuilder, but, you know, that is one thing that I don't love about this figure. Now, these top pieces, you can push them down like that if you want them to be more flat as well. And actually, that's not a terrible look. But for purposes of this review, I'll keep them up as they were intended to be. Now, one thing that I've changed up a bit, the directions like to take this waist piece and clip it back up into this section, and I kind of like to leave it down like that. Your mileage may vary, you do what you like there. There's his head. And that is kind of interesting. I mean, it doesn't look like Bulkhead to me, but it's interesting. You know, he's got his Bulkhead, I guess, kind of mouthpiece, but then you've got this kind of translucent piece of plastic right here, and then these little horn bits on the top. Again, translucent, and there is some light piping, albeit the light piping's not great. It does bring a little bit of light through, and it's kind of an odd look. Then you've got this bit, which looks like he perhaps was a knight in King Arthur's court or something, but that's, it's kind of neat. It gives him still that kind of hulked up look. I do like the blue paint that comes down here, and the fact that you've got real nice metallic silver right there as well really looks nice. You also have some other real subtle painted parts, like the blue here in the arms. I mean, again, this is a deluxe scale figure, but he's just painted very nicely. Now, this piece that was flipped underneath the truck has an Autobot symbol on it. Kind of an odd place to put an Autobot symbol, but nonetheless, I like that it's there. Very nice in plastic molding on the legs. And another nice thing is inside these doors, again, lots of nice in plastic molding. They didn't have to do anything here because it's not really that exposed in robot mode. Now, some people may have an issue with this look, but there's not really anything else that you can do with it because, as you can see, I mean, if you wanted to have it up, well, that just looks goofy. And you can see right into the figure, and there's not really anything else. It doesn't flip backwards or anything like that. So you have to keep it forwards, and then what you do from there is really up to you on how you want to pose this guy up. You can also put these over the green plastic in the back if you want to make it more like a little bit less rounded in the back, I suppose. Not a bad look. Now, the Dragon Grinder has a gimmick, and that is you push this thing in, and the wheel spins sometimes. There you go. Apparently there's a flaw with the way this thing was built, or they just intentionally designed it poorly, but this gets locked up in there quite a bit, and you just got to keep jamming on it until it unlocks. The feel of it, again, as I mentioned in my Beast Hunter Starscream review, it kind of feels a little bit Happy Meal-y, like a toy you'd get inside of a fast food kids meal, but I mean, it is what it is. I've come to kind of accept the gimmicky weapons. I will say that it looks cool. It has kind of a dragon molded head on the front. In a weird way, it kind of looks like some kind of ancient Egyptian weapon. But that's just me. I know it's supposed to be maybe like a Predacon head, but yeah, he has the intention of doing some bad things to Predacons with this, I'm quite sure. This right here feels real flimsy. It's not a very nice feeling plastic. There is some nice in-molded detail. Almost looks like a bug underneath it with the segments. And, I guess maybe the underbelly of a dragon. Very, very cool. I like the way that the in-plastic molding looks on this. Now you can slot this in one of two different places. You can hold it traditionally in his hand, and that's certainly not a terrible look. And you'll notice that he also has ports on the side of his arms, and you can put it in there, and that kind of gives him, like a forearm weapon, and that's kind of cool too. Now we get into some size comparisons. Well, here's where kind of some of the issues come in. Bulkhead should not appear to be, well, smaller all the way around than Smokescreen. Same thing with Ratchet. Both of these are from Transformers Prime, Smokescreen specifically from the Beast Hunters line, and Bulkhead's just scaled a little bit too small. That being said, again, I don't look at this guy as Bulkhead, and to me, he's like this neat new character that's joined the crew, and that's cool. I dig that quite a bit. Where the character really falls apart as Bulkhead is when you stand him next to First Edition Bulkhead, and then he just falls apart. So yeah, this is the far superior Bulkhead. If you're looking for just one figure for your collection, this is the one to hunt down. Again, this is probably one of my favorite figures in my current collection. I mean, it's just such a well-built toy and a great representation of the character on screen. Maybe not really a fair comparison, but again, this one, about $16. This one is about $16 more than that, and so worth it. Articulation on Bulkhead is actually not too bad. I'm going to move this up just so we can see his head. His head is on a ball joint, so he can look well down left and right, but you're not going to get a whole lot of upward movement on that ball joint because of the way his head sits up against that back panel right here. He's got a ball joint in the arm. He has a swivel right up there by the shoulder, a hinge in the elbow, and no wrist articulation. There's no waist articulation. His leg is on a ball joint and a swivel, and he does bend at the knee. And as I mentioned earlier, he has a ball joint right there on his foot, so he's got some ankle pivot. Overall, I think you can get some fairly decent poses out of him. He's just a little bit hindered by some of the plastic that's located at odd places here and there. A little bit of an extended bio on the weapon. He has a diamondium? I don't know what that is. Saw blade, I guess that means like a diamond saw blade, that spins fast enough to superheat the air near its surface. I guess you'd want to do that. Super hot vortex near blade can be used to block incoming laser fire as well as damage enemies. Sounds a bit like a lightsaber. And specially designed to quickly cut through dragon armor. Like all Beast Hunters figures, he comes with an extended bio.
Bulkhead can't deny that the new weapons brought back to base by Bumblebee are pretty cool, but no one can figure out how to activate them. Autobot Ratchet is working on it in his lab, but Bulkhead would rather smash stuff than study, so he's been out in the middle of the desert for hours trying to get the thing to work. He's just about to give up when Ripclaw plunges out of the sky and smashes into him. Before Bulkhead can react, an unknown dragon's tail claw grips his chest and rips away a chunk of armor. Even as the big Autobot pounds on his beastly opponent, giving as good as he gets, he feels the poisonous heat of the dragon's mech venom searing his circuitry.
Continued in Chapter 10, Deluxe Smokescreen, which we've already read, and it is sold separately. So it sounds like he's going to take quite a whooping. Some people have compared this version of Bulkhead to Rhinox, and looking at tfwiki.net, that's not really a terrible comparison. So final thoughts on Bulkhead. Vehicle mode is fantastic. I have no issues with that whatsoever. Great paint applications, a decent size, and it looks good all the way around. Robot mode, he's a tad bit on the small side, and his face sculpt doesn't exactly look like Bulkhead. So bringing this guy into your collection as someone maybe other than Bulkhead, well, I think that would be a fine idea. Also, if you can't find first edition Bulkhead or you're on a budget and you happen to see this guy at retail, well then by all means pick him up, he's a good figure. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in and watching my videos. If you're seeing this anywhere other than YouTube, you can catch all of my video reviews at youtube.com/eBEFOREiNet. If you want to follow me on Facebook, where I talk about things I'm going to be reviewing and throw up pictures and just general commentary here and there, I'm at facebook.com/eBEFOREi. And if you like tweeting, and I'm not talking about standing outside talking to birds, then you can follow me on Twitter at e_before_i. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again real soon.
Hey, it's my boy Jackie.